My parents stole $1,200,000, 0 cents I'd saved for a decade to secure my sister's future. But it was a trap I set, and they fell right into it. Wait until you see what happens next. I'm Eleanor Hayes, 34, a cybersecurity consultant in Seattle, and last summer my world shattered when I caught my parents trying to steal $1,200,000, 0 cents, from accounts they thought were mine. The kicker? The money wasn't real. It was a digital mirage, a trap I'd spent years crafting to confirm a gut-wrenching truth. My parents would always choose my sister Lila over me, no matter the cost. I'd suspected it since I was a kid, watching them shower her with everything while I scraped by on their scraps. But seeing them cross that line, committing fraud without a flicker of remorse, hit harder than I'd ever imagined. I'm about to take you into the heart of this betrayal, but first, let me ask, have you ever felt the sting of family choosing someone else over you? If you have, stick with me. This story's for you, and trust me, you'll want to know how it ends. I grew up on Bainbridge Island, Washington, in a waterfront house that screamed old money. Cedar shingles, wraparound porch, the kind of place you'd see on a postcard captioned Pacific Northwest Dream. From the outside, we were the perfect family. My father, Richard, a retired CPA with a knack for crunching numbers. My mother, Vivian, a real estate agent who could sell a shack like it was a mansion. And my sister, Lila, 6 years younger, the golden child who could do no wrong. Neighbors envied our manicured lawn and the sailboat docked out back. But inside those walls, it was a different story. The warmth of that house was as fake as the smile I plastered on for family photos, hiding the truth. I was invisible unless I was useful. And Leela was the sun we all orbited. My earliest memory of this dynamic is burned into me. I was 10, clutching a robotics kit my aunt had sent for my birthday, a sleek box of circuits and gears that promised to teach me how to build a mini drone. I'd spent weeks begging for it, dreaming of coding it to fly. Lila, barely 4, toddled over, grabbed a handful of wires and yanked them out, snapping the delicate components. I screamed, expecting my parents to intervene. Instead, my mother knelt beside Lila, cooing, "Oh, sweetie, you're just curious, aren't you?" I got a lecture about sharing. "Eleanor, she's your sister. You need to be the bigger person." The kit was ruined, and I was the one who felt broken. That wasn't a one-off. It was the blueprint of my childhood. At 15, I'd saved $500, 0 cents from a summer coding camp, dreaming of a laptop to practice programming. I hid the cash in a shoebox under my bed, but my parents found it. They didn't ask. They just took it to buy Lila a designer wardrobe for a junior beauty pageant she insisted on entering. "She needs confidence, Eleanor," my father said, as if my dreams were less fragile. "You're so responsible. You'll earn it back." I did, but not without resentment simmering like a low-grade fever. The final blow came when I was 18, accepted to Stanford with a partial scholarship for computer science. I'd counted on my college fund, set up by my grandparents to cover the rest. 2 months before orientation, my parents sat me down in our polished living room, the Puget Sound glinting through the windows. My father adjusted his glasses, papers spread across the coffee table like a crime scene. "Eleanor, we've had to make some adjustments," he said. My mother twisted her wedding ring, avoiding my eyes. The adjustments were code for draining my entire college fund to send Lila to a private art school in Los Angeles, a place for rich kids who couldn't hack it in regular high school. Lila had been expelled for skipping classes, and this was their fix. A $40,000, 0 cents a year solution for their sensitive artist. "What about Stanford?" My voice cracked, betraying the panic I tried to hide. My father's response was clinical. "You're resourceful, Eleanor. You can take out loans, apply for more scholarships, maybe start at community college." My mother chimed in. "We know you'll figure it out. You always do." That night, I lay awake in my childhood bedroom staring at the glow-in-the-dark stars I'd stuck on the ceiling years ago. They'd promised me the world, but now I saw the truth. I was expected to sacrifice my future so Lila could chase her whims. Something hardened in me then, a resolve that would shape the next decade. I didn't go to community college. I deferred Stanford for a year, worked 3 jobs, barista, tutor, and retail clerk, saved every penny, and secured enough scholarships to make it work. I graduated with a 3.95 GPA, coding late into the night while my classmates partied. My parents' response to my degree, a perfunctory, "That's nice, Eleanor," followed by, "Did we tell you Lila's starting an Instagram account? She could be an influencer." Every achievement I clawed for was overshadowed by Lila's latest crisis or half-baked dream. After graduation, I landed a job at a top cybersecurity firm in Seattle, a city I chose for its distance from Bainbridge Island. The tech scene was booming, and I thrived, designing systems to protect companies from hackers and data breaches. My analytical mind, honed by years of anticipating my family's betrayals, made me damn good at it. Lived modestly in a loft near Pike Place Market, investing in tech stocks, Nvidia, Microsoft, Tesla, building real wealth while keeping it locked down tighter than Fort Knox. My actual accounts were spread across multiple banks, protected by layers of encryption I'd designed myself. Paranoia? No. Preparation. Family visits were a performance I endured. My mother would glide through my loft, suggesting decor upgrades while fishing for details about my income. My father, with his accountant's precision, asked pointed questions about my investments, his eyes gleaming with interest. Lila, when she bothered to show up, whined about her latest failure, a botched acting audition, a crashed startup. Always someone else's fault. These visits always ended the same way, a lecture about family duty. 3 years ago, over coffee in my kitchen, my mother said, "Lila's struggling with her student loans from that art program." I corrected her. "The one she dropped out of after 6 weeks?" My father jumped in. "She wasn't challenged properly, but the loans are real, Eleanor, since you're doing so well." I cut them off. I wasn't a bank for Lila's bad decision. They'd called me selfish, cold, ungrateful. "Family helps family," my mother snapped. Funny how that only applied when Lila needed bailing out. The resentment I'd carried since childhood morphed into something sharper. Suspicion, then certainty. I knew what they'd do if given the chance. That's when the idea took root, not just to protect my money, but to expose their true colors. I needed proof, undeniable and airtight, that they'd betray me for Lila without a second thought. By my 30th birthday, I was a rising star at my firm, leading projects to secure multi-million-dollar client data. My real net worth was well north of $2 million, 0 cents, but I kept that quiet. Instead, I started building the illusion. I opened real accounts at secondary banks, depositing just enough to make them active. Then came the grunt work, crafting fake statements that looked so real even a forensic accountant would buy them. I'd learned at a cybersecurity seminar that people trust documents that look official, logos, watermarks, fine print, so I mimicked every detail, transaction histories with familiar vendors like Amazon and Starbucks, deposits matching my salary cycle, and a portfolio showing steady growth in tech stocks. The total? $1,200,000, 0 cents. A believable sum for someone like me, successful but not suspicious. For a year, I seeded the bait. During Zoom calls, I'd casually mention market volatility or checking my portfolios. "Portfolios? Plural?" my mother asked once, her voice sharp with curiosity. "Just diversifying," I said, shrugging it off. During a rare visit for my father's 65th birthday, I accidentally left my tablet open, a spreadsheet glowing with fake account balances totaling $1,200,000 0 cents. My father lingered by the tablet, his eyes narrowing. "You're doing well, Eleanor," he said, too casually. I closed the tablet with a practiced smile. Just being responsible. Meanwhile, Lila's latest disaster was unfolding. She'd sunk her dreams into an NFT startup, convinced it was her ticket to millions. Instead, it collapsed, leaving her with $900,000 0 cents in debt, co-signed by our parents. The timing was perfect. Their Bainbridge home, mortgaged to the hilt, faced foreclosure. My mother's calls grew more frequent, her questions about my life in Seattle oddly specific. My father sent me articles about helping family financially and tax benefits of gifts. Then came the suggestion, "We should visit you soon, Eleanor. It's been too long." They hadn't visited in years. I set the stage. I announced a work trip to San Francisco for a cybersecurity conference, mentioning a financial systems upgrade that would keep me offline for 48 hours. "I'll be consolidating accounts for better rates," I told them. "The bank's handling it, but I need to monitor for glitches." I could hear the gears turning in my father's voice. "Sounds important," he said. It was. Before leaving, I rigged my loft with hidden cameras, tiny, high-definition lenses tucked into bookshelves and light fixtures, all focused on my office desk. I built dummy banking portals, complete with login screens that mimicked Chase and Wells Fargo, the passwords, Child's Play, my birthday, our old address, the name of our childhood dog, Rusty. If they tried, they'd get in, and I'd know. I set up a tracking system to log every access attempt and transfer, routing alerts to a burner phone. The final touch, a folder labeled Investment Portfolio on my desk, stuffed with fake statements and a sticky note with login details, carelessly left in a drawer. The night before my flight, I called them. "Just checking in before San Francisco," I said. "I'll be offline during the upgrade." My mother's voice was too sweet. "Do you need us to check on your place? Water your plants?" I smiled into the phone. "No need, I've got self-latering pots now." "Well, if you need anything, we're just a ferry ride away," my father added. I hung up, packed my bag, and left the trap primed. In San Francisco, I was the picture of professionalism, delivering a keynote on data breach prevention. But my tablet tucked in my hotel room was my real focus. Friday passed quietly, no alerts. I almost dared to hope I was wrong. Saturday at 2:14 p.m., my burner phone buzzed. Motion detected in my loft. I excused myself from a networking lunch, found a quiet corner in the hotel lobby, and opened the security app. The footage was crystal clear. My parents stepping into my loft with the spare key I'd given them years ago for emergencies. "I feel sick doing this," my mother whispered, clutching her purse. My father's voice was firm. "We're just checking on her place, Vivian. She'd want us to make sure everything's secure during this upgrade." They didn't check the kitchen or living room. They went straight to my office, my father beelining for the desk while my mother hovered at the door. "Hurry, Richard," she hissed. "What if she has camera?" "He doesn't," he said, already rifling through drawers. I checked outside. Besides, she's in San Francisco till tomorrow. He found the folder, his face lighting up as he scanned the statements. "Vivienne, come here. She's got $1,200,000 0 cents. My mother abandoned her post, peering over his shoulder. "How does she have that much?" "She's always been a saver," he said, a hint of pride undercut by greed. He found the sticky note with login details, and I watched, heart pounding as they opened my laptop. My decoy laptop, set up for this exact moment. The dummy portal loaded, and my father typed in the password, Rusty 1990. Access granted. My mother gasped. It's asking for a verification code. He grabbed a fake bank letter from the folder, reading off my phone number. The burner phone buzzed with a fake code, which he entered. The screen showed $1,200,000, 0 cents, ready to move. This will save Lila, my father said. This will save the house. My mother's voice trembled. It's her money, Richard. He didn't hesitate. We're borrowing it. Once Lila's back on her feet, we'll repay it. Eleanor's always been the strong one. She won't let her sister drown. They initiated the transfer, the screen flashing a fake confirmation. $1,200,000, 0 cents, to their joint account. My mother's shoulders sagged, not with relief, but with shame. Should we leave a note? She asked. No, my father said. We'll call her tomorrow, explain everything. She'll understand. They wiped the browser history, tidied the desk, and left, locking the door behind them. In my hotel room, I stared at the footage, my hands shaking. I'd planned for this, expected it, but the reality was a gut punch. My parents, my own blood, had stolen from me without a second thought. The money wasn't real, but their betrayal was. The confirmation number they'd seen was a dead end. The accounts, a facade built with a programmer friend who owed me a favor. But the evidence? That was real, time-stamped and backed up on 3 USB drives. I didn't sleep that night. I replayed the footage, noting every word, every glance, every justification. By the time my flight landed in Seattle at 7:03 p.m. Sunday, I was ready. I drove straight to Bainbridge, the ferry ride across Puget Sound a blur of dark water and city lights. My parents' house glowed warmly, but I felt no nostalgia. This wasn't home anymore. It was a battlefield. My mother opened the door, pulling me into a hug that felt like a performance. "Eleanor, we were so worried," she said, her voice too high. My father stood by the fireplace, hands in his pockets. "Was this about your accounts?" he asked, feigning concern. I set my bag down, my laptop inside. "Something terrible happened," I said, letting my voice shake. "My accounts are empty. $1,200,000, 0 cents, gone. Transferred to another account while I was in San Francisco." Their faces froze. My mother recovered first. "Oh, honey, are you sure? Could it be a glitch?" "No glitch," I said. "The bank traced the transfer. It happened yesterday afternoon." My father cleared his throat. "Have you called the police?" "Not yet," I said, watching them squirm. "The fraud department's closed until morning. I thought I'd come here first. I needed family." I let the word hang, heavy with irony. My mother suggested I stay the night, her voice unsteady. "That's a good idea," I said. "I'm too upset to be alone." As she led me to the guest room, I heard her whisper to my father, "What if she knows?" I smiled grimly. They had no idea how much I knew. In the guest room, I opened my laptop, reviewing the footage one last time. The USB drives were tucked in my bag, the evidence ready. At 10 p.m., I called them to the living room. "I know who stole my money," I said, my voice steady now. My father frowned. "That's good. The police can track them." "No need for police," I said, turning the laptop to face them. "The thieves are here." The screen played the footage. Their entry, their search, their theft. My mother gasped, covering her mouth. My father's face went ashen. "You spied on us?" my mother whispered. "No," I said. "I protected myself." "There's a difference." My father tried to pivot. "Eleanor, you don't understand. We were desperate. Lila's debt, the foreclosure," I cut him off. "I heard every excuse on the video. She's the strong one." "Did you ever think to ask me?" "We've asked before," my mother said weakly. "You always say no." "Because I won't bankroll Lila's failures," I snapped. "But you didn't ask this time, you stole." The room went silent. Then the front door slammed open and Lila stormed in, her eyes wild. "What's going on?" she demanded. My mother's text about an emergency had brought her running. I didn't flinch. "Your parents stole $1,200,000, 0 cents from me, to fix your latest mess." Lila's jaw dropped, but not in shock calculation. "You had that much and never helped me?" she said, her voice rising. "Your startup was failing and you let me drown." There it was, no outrage at the theft, just anger that I hadn't opened my wallet sooner. I turned to my parents. "See? This is the problem. You've taught her she's entitled to everything I've earned." Then came the twist. "There's something you don't know," I said, pulling up the back end of my fake banking system. "The money wasn't real. The accounts were fake. The statements fabricated. You stole nothing." My father's mouth opened, then closed. "That's impossible," he stammered. "We saw the transfer." "All part of the illusion," I said. "The confirmation was fake. But your actions? Those were real." My mother sank onto the couch, tears streaming. "Why would you do this?" "Because I needed to know," I said. "I needed proof you'd choose Lila over me, no matter what it cost me." Lila laughed bitterly. "So this was a sick game? You set us up?" "No," I said. "I gave you a choice. You made it." I laid out my terms, a written confession, family therapy, and full transparency about their financial ties to Lila. "Or this footage goes to the authorities," I said. "Identity theft, fraud, felonies in Washington, up to 7 years in prison." My father, the CPA, knew I wasn't bluffing. "What do you want from us?" he asked. "Admit what you've done, not just yesterday, but my whole life. Admit you've treated me as a resource, not a daughter." Lila exploded. "You're jealous. You've always hated that they love me more." Her words cut, not because they were true, but because they laid bare the family's truth. My mother sobbed, but neither she nor my father denied it. "Thank you, Lila," I said quietly. "At least you're honest." I turned to my parents. "What's it going to be? Truth or consequences?" The room felt like it was holding its breath. My mother broke first. "I'm sorry, Eleanor," she whispered. We failed you." My father's shoulders slumped. "We did it," he admitted. "We took the money. We thought it was the only way." Lila stormed out, slamming the door so hard a picture frame fell, a photo from my Stanford graduation, fittingly. I stayed that night, but in the guest room, needing space from the wreckage of our family. The trap had worked, but the cost was heavier than I'd expected. I'd exposed their betrayal, but what came next? Could we rebuild from this rubble? And what about Lila? Would she try to sabotage me further? As I lay awake, my phone buzzed with a text from my best friend Mia. "You okay?" I typed back, "Not yet, but I will be." The truth was out, but the story was far from over. The air in my parents' Bainbridge Island living room was thick with the kind of silence that follows a bomb going off. Everyone's still standing, but you know the damage is done. I stood there, my laptop screen frozen on the image of my parents, Richard and Vivian, hunched over my desk in Seattle, stealing what they thought was $1,200,000, 0 cents, from my accounts. Their faces, pale and caught, stared back at us from the footage. My sister Lila, who'd stormed in minutes ago, was pacing like a caged animal, her designer boots clicking on the hardwood floor. The family portrait from my Stanford graduation lay shattered on the floor, a fitting metaphor for what we'd become. I'd just dropped the bomb. The money wasn't real. The accounts were fake, a trap I'd set to expose their betrayal. And now, with their guilt laid bare, I was about to find out if this family could be salvaged, or if I'd burned it all to the ground. "You set us up," my father said, his voice low, the retired CPA in him trying to claw back control. This could be entrapment. Eleanor." His words were a lifeline he was throwing to himself, but they only made my resolve harder. "Entrapment," I shot back, my voice steady despite the storm inside. "I didn't force you to break into my accounts, Dad. I didn't make you type in those passwords or transfer that money. You chose that. You both did." My mother's sobs broke the tension, her hands covering her face. "Eleanor, how could you do this to us?" she whispered, as if I was the one who'd betrayed them. Lila spun on me, her eyes blazing. "You're sick, you know that? Setting up fake accounts, planting cameras. You're not the victim here, you're the manipulator." Her words stung, not because they were true, but because they echoed the doubt I'd wrestled with for years. Was I wrong to test them? Was I the monster for wanting proof of what I'd always known? I pushed the thought aside. "The only manipulation here," I said, pointing at the screen, "is you three convincing yourselves it's okay to steal from me to fix Lila's messes." Lila's face twisted. "You had $1,200,000 0 cents and let my startup crash. You let Mom and Dad face foreclosure just to prove a point?" Her entitlement was so raw it was almost comical, but it cut deeper than I expected. "It wasn't real, Lila," I said, my voice cold. "But your reaction? That's real. You're not mad they stole from me. You're mad I didn't hand you the money first." The room felt like it was shrinking, the walls closing in as decades of unspoken truths collided. I laid out my demands: a written confession admitting their theft, mandatory family therapy with a specialist, and full transparency about every cent they'd funneled to Lila over the years. "Or," I said, holding up a USB drive, "this footage goes to the King County prosecutor. Identity theft, wire fraud, felonies, you're looking at 7 years, Dad. You know the law." My father's jaw tightened, his accountant's mind no doubt calculating the fallout. Criminal charges, public disgrace, the end of his comfortable retirement. My mother's tears slowed, replaced by a haunted look. "What do you want us to say, Eleanor?" she asked, her voice barely audible. "That we've failed you? That we've always put Lila first?" I leaned forward, meeting her eyes. "I want you to admit it, not just yesterday, but every day of my life. Admit I've been your backup plan, your ATM for Lila's dreams." Before they could respond, Lila lunged for the USB drive in my hand. I yanked it back, but she grabbed my wrist, her nails digging in. "Give it to me," she hissed. "You're not ruining my life with this." I wrenched free, stepping back, my heart racing. Danger 1, physical confrontation. For a split second, I thought she might actually hit me. My father stepped between us. "Lila, stop," he barked, but his voice lacked conviction. She glared at him, then at me. "You're jealous," she spat. "You've always hated that. They love me more." The words landed like a slap, not because they were new, but because she said them so openly with no shame. My mother gasped, but neither she nor my father contradicted her. I took a deep breath, steadying myself. "Thank you, Lila," I said quietly, "for saying what they've never had the guts to." I turned to my parents. "What's it going to be, truth or consequences?" The silence stretched, unbearable. Then my mother broke. "I'm sorry," she whispered, tears spilling again. We didn't see it. We didn't see you." My father's shoulders slumped. "We took the money," he admitted, his voice flat. "We thought it was the only way to save Lila, to save the house." Lila stormed out, the door slamming so hard the windows rattled. The broken picture frame crunched under her boots as she left. I stayed that night in the guest room, the USB drives locked in my bag, my laptop password protected. Sleep didn't come. I kept replaying the confrontation, their faces, Lila's rage. I'd won, but it felt hollow. Pressure 1, emotional turmoil. The trap had worked, but it had torn open wounds I'd spent years ignoring. Was this justice or revenge? Could I ever trust them again? My phone buzzed at 2 a.m., a text from my best friend Mia. "You okay?" I typed back. "I don't know, but it's done." I wasn't sure what done meant yet. The next morning, I found my father at the kitchen table, drafting the confession on his laptop. 5 pages, single-spaced, detailing the theft, their motivations, and a reluctant admission of favoring Lila. My mother added a handwritten note, her words shaky but sincere. "We failed you, Eleanor. We didn't realize how much we asked of you." It was a start, but words on paper couldn't undo decades of neglect. I drove back to Seattle, needing distance. The ferry ride across Puget Sound was gray and choppy, mirroring my mood. At my loft, I checked the security footage one last time, ensuring no one had tampered with it. Everything was intact, but a new alert pinged on my burner phone. An unauthorized login attempt on one of my real accounts, not the fakes. Danger 2, corporate espionage. A rival firm, Apex Security, had sniffed out my trap, mistaking it for a real breach. They'd tried to hack my actual accounts, thinking they could expose a vulnerability in my firm's systems. My heart sank. This wasn't just personal anymore. My professional life was at risk. I spent hours reinforcing my real accounts, updating encryption and alerting my firm's IT team without revealing the full story. My boss, Jackson, noticed my distraction during a Monday meeting. "Eleanor, you missed a key point in the client pitch," he said, his tone sharp. "This isn't you." Pressure 2, career fallout. I mumbled an excuse about family issues, but his raised eyebrow told me I was on thin ice. Losing a major client could cost me the promotion I'd been gunning for. Back at my loft, I dove into therapy arrangements, booking sessions with Dr. Karen Voss, a family dynamics expert in Seattle. My parents agreed to attend, in person for them, virtual for me. The first session was brutal. Dr. Voss didn't sugarcoat it. "Your family has normalized a toxic pattern," she said, her voice calm but firm. "Eleanor, your trap was extreme, but it exposed what you've always known. Your parents have used you as a resource, not a daughter," my father bristled. "That's unfair. We love Eleanor." Dr. Voss didn't blink. "Love doesn't justify theft, Richard. Why did you feel entitled to her money?" The question hung in the air. My mother broke down, admitting they'd always seen me as the strong one who didn't need them. "Lila demanded so much," she said. "It was easier to focus on her." My father stayed silent, his jaw tight. Pressure 3, ethical dilemma. I wanted to scream, to demand why I'd been forced to be strong while Lila got coddled, but I held back, letting Dr. Voss guide the conversation. Progress was slow, but it was something. Meanwhile, Lila's reaction escalated. She texted me a week later, a venomous message. "You think you're so smart, but I'm telling everyone what you did. The press will love this." Danger 3, public exposure. I froze, imagining headlines, cybersecurity star entraps own family. My career, built on trust, could collapse. I called Mia, my voice shaking. "She's going to ruin me." Mia, ever practical, said, "She's bluffing, she'd expose herself too, but you need to be ready." I spent nights drafting a PR response, just in case, my stomach in knots. The financial fallout for my parents was immediate. Without the fictional $1,200,000, 0 cents, their Bainbridge home went into foreclosure. They sold it within a month, moving to a modest condo in Tacoma. My mother took on extra real estate clients, working weekends. My father, at 65, postponed retirement, taking consulting gigs to cover debts. Curiosity hook 1. What else have they hidden? I demanded full financial transparency, and the numbers were staggering. $75,000, 0 cents in credit card debt for Lila's failed ventures, $50,000, 0 cents in car loans, $30,000, 0 cents in legal fees for her DUIs. How deep did their enabling go? Lila, cut off from their support, spiraled. She moved into a cramped Tacoma apartment with 4 roommates, her social media a mix of self-pity and cryptic jabs at toxic family. She called me once, begging to meet. "I just want to talk, Eleanor," she said, her voice syrupy. I didn't trust it. Danger 4, family retaliation. Mia warned me Lila might try to record our conversation, twisting it for her narrative. I agreed to meet at a crowded coffee shop, keeping my guard up. At the cafe, Lila looked different. No designer clothes, just a plain sweater and jeans. "I'm sorry," she said, but her eyes darted, calculating. "I didn't know they'd take your money." I wasn't buying it. "You didn't care, Lila. You were mad I didn't give it to you first." She leaned forward, her voice low. "I could make this go away. Just help me out." One last time. Pressure 4, manipulation attempt. My skin crawled. She wasn't sorry. She was fishing. I left, blocking her number. Back at work, the Apex security hack loomed larger. They'd accessed metadata from my fake portal, enough to question my firm's integrity. Jackson called me into his office. "Clients are asking about a potential breach," he said. "What's going on, Eleanor?" "Danger 5, professional sabotage." I deflected, promising to investigate, but panic clawed at me. If Apex exposed my trap, even as a personal project, it could tank my career. I worked late tracing their intrusion, finding they'd planted a tracker on my real accounts. I neutralized it, but the close call left me shaken. Therapy sessions continued, peeling back layers of my parents' guilt. My mother admitted her own childhood neglect had driven her to overcompensate with Lila. My father confessed his obsession with fixing Lila stemmed from his own parents' coldness toward failure. Curiosity hooked too. Why Lila? Was there a deeper reason for their favoritism, something they weren't saying? I pushed Dr. Voss to dig, sensing a secret buried in their past. My own healing was messier. The trap had given me proof, but it also left me questioning every relationship. Pressure 5, trust issues. I'd tested friends, partners, even colleagues, always expecting betrayal. Dr. Voss challenged me. "Your trap was brilliant, but it shows you're wired for suspicion. Can you build connections without testing them?" The question hit hard. I'd spent years building walls, but tearing them down felt impossible. Lila's threats didn't materialize, but her silence was unsettling. Curiosity hook 3. What's she planning? Mia found a vague post on Lila's Instagram. "Truth comes out soon. Watch this space." Was she working with Apex? Digging into my finances? I doubled my security, monitoring her digital footprint, but found nothing concrete. The uncertainty gnawed at me. My parents' condo became a symbol of their new reality. Small, practical, stripped of pretension. During a video session, my mother said, "It's freeing in a way, less to maintain." My father nodded. "We're learning to live within our means." Curiosity hook 4, can they change? Their words sounded genuine, but I'd heard promises before. Could they break decades of habits? At work, I channeled my pain into a new project, a cybersecurity service for families facing financial exploitation. I pitched it to Jackson, framing it as a niche market, adult children protecting assets from manipulative relatives. "This is bold," he said, impressed. "There's a need here no one's touching." The project earned me a promotion to senior consultant, but the Apex threat lingered. Curiosity hook 5. Will my past haunt my future? If they uncovered my real wealth? Now over $2,500,000 0 cents. My carefully built life could unravel. Months later, Lila emailed me, requesting a meeting during a Seattle business trip. Against my better judgment, I agreed, choosing a neutral cafe near Pike Place. She looked worn, her usual swagger gone. "I've been in therapy," she said, stirring her coffee. "I was angry at you, but I see it now, how Mom and Dad treated us differently." I didn't trust her fully, but her words felt raw, unpolished. "It's hard," she admitted, "standing on my own." "I'm trying." I nodded, cautious. "It's a start, Lila. Keep going." We didn't hug, didn't promise to stay in touch, but for the first time, I saw a glimpse of her as a person, not just my rival. Thanksgiving came and I returned to Tacoma. The condo was small but warm, filled with the smell of roasted turkey. Lila didn't come. She wasn't ready, but my parents were different. My father asked about my investments, not to probe, but to learn. My mother listened when I spoke, her eyes on me, not scanning for Lila's absence. Over dinner, my father raised his glass. "To Eleanor," he said, "for forcing us to see the truth." My mother's eyes glistened. "We didn't want to fail you," she said, "but we did, and we're trying to make it right." I blinked back tears, the weight of their words hitting me. I'd set the trap hoping they'd prove me wrong, but they hadn't. Yet here we were, building something new from the ashes. The cost had been high. Trust shattered, a sister estranged, my career teetering. But the truth was worth it. I'd reclaimed my place, not as the strong one who needed nothing, but as a daughter who deserved to be seen. As I drove back to Seattle, the city lights reflected on the water, I felt a shift. The trap hadn't just exposed their betrayal, it had freed me to demand more. From them, from myself. The road ahead was uncertain. Would Lila's therapy lead to real change? Would Apex back off? Or was a bigger threat coming? Could my parents keep their promises? I didn't have answers, but for the first time, I had hope, and that, I realized, was the real victory. If you've ever faced a family betrayal, I want to hear your story. Have you set boundaries that changed everything? Share below, and let's keep this conversation going. The truth isn't always pretty, but it's always worth fighting for.